Hey guys, as you may know, I'm playing a training match against my younger brother, who is around 2,000 rated on chess.com, 2,100 rated on Lichess. I'm training for my upcoming classical tournaments, and today we played the third game. After 2 games, the match is tied. I scored 1 win and I lost 1 game. Very beautiful win by my brother. Check out both of those games in the on the links in the description of the video. And today there is the third game, the one where I'm playing again with the white pieces, and I need to win. I decide because I'm more experienced. I'm playing the white pieces. I feel confident. I need a win. So let's see how it went. Stick to the end because the end game in this game was extremely instructive. My coach, Grandmaster Farouk was really impressed by the end game. I will not tell you by whose play he was impressed, mine or my opponent's. You will see for yourself. Okay, let's start. I'm playing e4, and again my brother chooses the French defense. We both played with black after 1 e4. So I decide to launch an attack to gambit a pawn. It's called Harvit's attack. So the idea here is after d5, I do not take, I do not go e5, I do not protect the pawn with knight c3, but I go bishop b2, activating my bishop and gambiting this pawn. Yes, you can take it. Yes, you can. But actually, it's good for white. Here, I go knight c3. If people accept this gambit, I go knight c3, attacking this pawn. After knight f6 defending, I go queen e2. Then the idea is to castle, long castle, take this pawn eventually, and launch an attack on the king side. So, for example, the game could go like this, I don't know, this, and h4 or g4 or any other combination of attacking moves on this side of the board. Yes, the computer is not impressed and says that it's equal, but humanly speaking, it's very pleasant to play for white. And I know that my brother hates defending, and he knows that I love attacking. So psychology is a thing that plays a role in chess very often. He knows that I like gambits. I play the king's gambit, for example, with white quite often. So here I played a gambit, and he sees that I'm gambiting him a pawn, and he says, no, thank you, I will not take your pawn. And he went knight f6, which is actually a good move. A very good move. He never saw this gambit before, he told me. So he decided to just activate his pieces and not go pawn break grabbing, and this was turned out to be a logical way to tackle this position. I go e5, he goes back, I go d4, he goes c5, all standard for the French defense. I go c3 to strengthen this pawn chain. Yes, my bishop is stupid behind those pawns, but sometime in future, I thought that it will activate. I thought about a plan where I put my bishop here, put my pawn here, and then launch an attack like this, put my knight either here or here, castle short, and later on blow open the position with c4, and my bishop gets activated. This is a dream scenario. Of course, he will not tamely sit and wait for my attack, but that was my plan. So he's developing. I go bishop d3, he goes f5. He didn't like my idea of activating the bishop and attacking with f4, f5, he told me, so he prevented this with f5, but f5 is not a good move because, positionally speaking, this becomes a weakness. This diagonal becomes weak for my infiltration, and also he will never get rid of this pawn. So before that, he could have gone f6, for example, in some variations to attack. Maybe not now, but later. And if you saw the video on how the first game between me and my brother went, you've seen this f6 ideas in live, and in that game it worked. But in this game he chose f5, and I immediately thought that positionally I should be better. I developed one knight, and then I developed the other knight, not to f3, which would be maybe a more logical move for most beginners, but to e2, because this square is really juicy for my knight. From this square, I'm attacking both this pawn and threatening queen h5 check, because after g6, for example, let's imagine something like b5, queen knight f4, and some nonsensical move like rook b8, for example. Here I can check him. And if g6, I take. And if he takes, I take. And I have a rook for a knight, a great position. So yeah, that's something that could happen. So I went knight e2, he develops. And here I jump in with my knight to f4, and the position is actually not very pleasant. So the computer says the best move is knight f8 to defend both this and this. But this is a difficult move to make. It's very passive, so I can check him, and he goes full defense mode. I go here. Maybe I want to infiltrate later on like this, attack his rook, and no one can protect it. So he goes here. I don't like this position. He didn't like it either. He decided he needs to protect this pawn after knight f4 with his king. King f7. Well, it's not very wise to move your king in the opening, but still nothing too fatal for black, because he can manually castle later on, like here, defending this pawn, and then go here. For example, let me show you the variation, hypothetical variation. Here, I don't know, okay, g3. I'm making nonsensical moves. But this was something that he could have done, and his king is in safety, although it's still a very passive position. So he went king f7, and immediately I, being an attacking player, I started calculating. I calculated, for example, this move. I really wanted to make it work. King, and it's a knight sacrifice. He takes with the king, which is the only logical move. And here, I thought, what about I sacrificing another piece here? His king is in the center, maybe I can exploit it, but actually I don't have anything good in this position. If I check him, he just goes back, and then he goes here, and maybe goes here and runs back, and I'm down 2 pieces, so there is nothing in this position. I thought about going here, and actually here there was a beautiful line. I thought he just goes g6 and is absolutely fine, but pause this video and find a great combinations to finish this game. I didn't see it in advance. Otherwise, I would have probably gone for this. And it's very easy to miss this if you're playing black, if you're playing white. So the combination is queen takes d5. It's a queen sacrifice. And he has to take. This is the only move. And bishop c4 is checkmate. How beautiful is that? Have you ever seen something like that? This is like checkmate by sacrificing first a knight and then a queen in the center of the board with just one bishop attacking, because this knight is not even participating. So just one bishop and 2 pawns are checkmating the black king. This is crazy. Unfortunately, I didn't see it, but in this variation, had I gone queen f3, probably he would have seen this, and I probably, after spending some time, could have seen this idea of queen d5, but here there is a strong move, knight takes e5, and in this position, it's okay for black. Black can go back like king f8, king f6 is not a very pleasantly looking move, but still, black has the center, black has an extra pawn, he can develop later on, so nothing too spectacular. My pieces are stuck on the back rank, back 2 ranks, so nothing too spectacular. So that's one of the ways this game could possibly unfold. I was calculating knight e6, but I didn't have enough time to calculate it all. I decided the best move, and the computer actually says that I'm quite right. It's one of the 2 recommendations of the computer, is to sacrifice the bishop, not the knight. But it's not really a sacrifice, because once he takes, I give him a check, and it's a fork, and I win back the knight. He goes back, and here, initially I thought I'm just taken back and I'm better, because he has no castling rights, and I'm attacking, and this pawn is horrible, this knight is great, this bishop is stupid. But then I thought, what about queen h5? I can threaten mate. And I calculated g6. If g6, I just take. And if he takes, I take here, which is a checkmate. So he has to to go here, and here I can take his rook, and it's an interesting attacking game. He can go here, I can take here, for example. So I was calculating this, and I thought it's okay. But I thought that the way he would play this would be queen e8, which is the move that he chose, protecting this square, this mating square, by the queen. And I was calculating this variation. Queen takes, check, then I take, he takes, and I take with my knight. And I am up a pawn in an endgame. His king is stuck in the center. I am threatening a fork. Also, once he, for example, protects against this fork, I can take here and take here. And I'm up 2 pawns already. So great position. I thought, wow. Yes, of course, in this position, I'm not obliged to exchange the queens. I can probably take this pawn and attack, or I can, for example, take here, because if he takes, I take with a check, I queen with a check, and then I take his queen, I'm up material. So once he takes, I can move back, for example, queen e2, and I have a great position, attack. So that's what I could have done, but I decided, well, endgame is okay. So I decided that I'll go into this endgame, but I mixed up the move order. I decided I'll take, he takes, I take, he takes, and this is the same position. But I forgot that he could take with a rook. This was the moment I realized that I'm not as winning as I was hoping I would be. By the 15th move, I already had a winning position. But I mixed it up, the move order, and now his rook is activated, and if I take, he has this unpleasant discovered check. I go back, he can take here, for example, and attack me. My king is stuck in the center. I didn't like this position. I decided, you know what, I should castle immediately, which was a mistake, because I forgot that he has this move, attacking both my knights. I cannot move back because he takes this knight, so I have to go here. He takes, I take, and this is like a horrible position. He can infiltrate, rook e2, for example, attacking me, and this is not good for me. This is, computer says it's equal. I can protect, for example, like this, but I think it's even better for black because of this domination. The black position plays itself. You go here, and my pieces are miscoordinated. This rook on the second file is very powerful. I just forgot about bishop g5. I went on tilt. You know, it often happens. One mistake follows the other. This is the rule in chess. You should be very, very concentrated. Once you commit a mistake, you should regain composure. This is very important in chess. Levon Aronian, in his podcast with me, you should check it out by the link below. He said similar things about the importance of not going on tilt once you commit one mistake, because 2 mistakes can be fatal. 1 mistake you can recover. So in this position, this was the second mistake. The first mistake was forgetting about this rook. The second mistake was castling and forgetting about this bishop g5. But thankfully, my brother also somehow missed it. I saw it immediately. Once I castled, I was like, bishop g5? What the hell? But he got carried away with another plan. He decided to take, and I immediately decided not to take here, because this again allowed bishop g5. But I took with my knight here, and I breathed a sigh of relief because I prevented bishop g5 with the threat. So he can go bishop g5, but it doesn't have any sense now. Bishop g5, I just go knight f3 and attack him. So here he decided to go on bishop c5. This was his plan. I'm occupying an open file. He is trying to untangle with his pieces. I develop my knight, also attacking this pawn, so he has to take. I take, and I like my position. It's okay. Even though he has the 2 bishops advantage, my pieces are activated. This bishop is powerful. This knight is amazing in the center of the board. This knight is nice. Somehow it can jump in. Those squares are available. So my brother George tries to prevent me from going here with my knight. And here I go b4. Here I started thinking, and I decided that in the long term, black could play for a win, because two bishops are very powerful. If he activates, for example, somehow transfers his knight, for example, here, transfers his bishop here, those two powerful bishops become a force to be reckoned with. Those two rooks can double up, those pawns can march, and the position could slowly deteriorate for me. So I decided I need some counterplay. Maybe after the game, I spoke to my brother. He said he thought it's approximately equal. I thought at this position that it could get worse for me. So I need counterplay, and I decided the counterplay is here. The counterplay lies in this advancement of the pawns, and once this knight is dislodged and has to go back, for example, here or here, I have this knight e5 attack, and this is my potential source of counterplay. Well, b4 is not a bad move, but it's not a great one, because this counterplay can be stopped, and you will see how. He goes back, I go a4, and here the best way to stop my counterplay is just to exchange. He can just exchange the material. He has nothing to lose by exchanging. I will not attack him without pieces. So if I take, he takes, and the computer says black is already better. My pawns could become weaknesses. Two bishops are better than a bishop and a knight. So this endgame could go sour very soon. Unfortunately for him, he didn't think about this plan, but still the position is equal, nothing to be too much afraid of. He decides to win this pawn. He goes bishop e6 to attack this knight, and once it moves, this pawn becomes prey for his pieces. So I'm protecting this knight and also trying to activate my rook via the d file. He exchanges. This was probably a mistake, giving up his two bishops. You will see why. And he takes this pawn. And here I take, he takes, and most chess players would immediately grab this pawn, I think, or go and try and go grab this pawn. But I here thought that I have a way to play for a win, which turned out to be an interesting idea. So first of all, I saw a trap. This is a check, and if he blocks, I have another check. He cannot take because this is a pin. He has to go here. I take, and if he goes here, this is a fork. And I win a rook, and I'm winning in the endgame. So this is a cheap trap. Obviously, we both saw it. He cannot go rook e7 because of knight e5. So he has to move his king, and he moved it here. And here, most players would take this, and this would be a dead draw. Rook b8, exchange rooks, and this is just a draw. You can just do nothing with white and with black, stand, wait, and nothing happens. But I decided to play for a win because of one factor: king safety. His king has no way to go. My knight takes these squares. My rook takes this file. So if my rook gets teleported here with check, he has no way to hide. He can only block. So I calculated some variations, and I went rook d1. Another advantage of this move is that I'm dominating on this file. He can no longer go rook d8 and exchange. So this pawn is always up for grabs. I was calculating this variation: b5, rook b7. He cannot take because I take him, and I'm again threatening something like rook d6. If the knight goes here, I also have rook d6. Yes, he has rook e6, but then I can take this pawn in some variations. So at least I'm active. This rook hasn't moved yet. This rook is still in the corner, has not made a move. Remember this. This is very important. So he decides to, after my move, rook d1, he decides to give back this pawn to activate his knight. I take it, but my attack continues. Now I can infiltrate like this. I can infiltrate like this. I have many interesting opportunities. I also can go here. So I'm active. This rook is much more active than any of my opponent's rooks. He goes here. He tries to exchange pieces, which is a good strategy if you are under attack. But here, it fails due to some concrete moves. I go rook c1. I attack his knight. The important thing to remember here for me is that if my rook somehow gets from the first rank, I can get checkmated on the first rank. But I'm threatening to take this with check, so this is a real threat. So he decides to exchange his knights. But this fails. to a beautiful sequence of moves. So first I check. The best move here is to block. But then I can take this pawn or even go here, putting more pressure, attacking this knight, then take this pawn. And I have an extra pawn that marches forward, and I have a technically winning endgame. But this would be best for him. He decided to go back with his king. And now my other rook jumps in with a check. If he blocks, I take, he takes, and I take his knight, and I'm up a knight. So he cannot block. He cannot go up because of my other rook. So he needs to go to the 8th rank. Again, see this rook. It hasn't moved. He's playing without a rook. He's playing down a rook. Here, I just take. And the important thing here is, again, this back rank. So I could have done a horrible thing. I could have gone here, thinking, haha, I'm winning his rook. Because if he blocks, I take, and then I check him, and then I take the rook, and I'm winning. Also, I could do this and think, haha, free rook, checkmate. That would be very unfortunate for me. Obviously, I saw this, so I didn't rush this. The threat is more important than its execution, sometimes chess players say. So I just go with g3, creating a luft air for my king, and now I'm threatening rook c8. He has to protect from this threat. Now his rook is protected. This is the first time this rook has moved. The 33rd move in the game. Too late, my friend. I'm just taking a pawn, and I'm taking another pawn, and again, I'm threatening checkmate here, so my brother resigned. He could have played on, for example, like this, and then I can go here, for example, and maybe here, and try to checkmate him over here. He has some moves to protect, but he's down 2 pawns. I will easily eat this pawn maybe, or advance this pawn. This is very easily winning. So he lost, he resigned, and I'm up 2-1 in this match. Tomorrow, there will be the decisive final game. Stay tuned for it. I'm sure my brother will fight like a lion and try to get his revenge. What do you think about this game and about the match as a whole? Do you like this content? Write it in the comments. See you tomorrow.